Hi everyone! We have all heard about dependency injection, and in this video, let's see what exactly it is. So a dependency injection, basically, it's a technique that allows you to create dependent object outside the class and supply these objects to that class. So there are several ways of doing this, and one way is to use setters to set these dependencies. But this may not be the best way, as the object may be uninitialized at the start. So let's take an example and see our payment handler class. Here we have our payment method and of course our factory, which returns an instance of a class that implements book repository, let's say. Here there is a coupling with book repository factory, and let's take a look at a better approach. A better way is to declare these dependencies as constructor parameters, as seen in this slide. In fact, our class now has a constructor that takes up as a parameter an instance of a class that implements book repository. And now, book repository becomes a private attribute of this class. So we can call it in the pay method through this, and now the pay method is no longer responsible for creating the dependency in question. Now, it's up to the calling class to make the necessary instantiation. Imagine we are in the main method, creating our instance throughout the factory, then we create an instance of payment handler, passing the rest as a parameter to its constructor, so we can call the pay method. This is how we use dependency injection to further decouple our components. Let's take a more complex example. We have 5 classes. A and B have no dependencies. Class C depends on A, D depends on B, and finally, E depends on C and D. So if you want to create an instance of class E, we need to prepare all the necessary dependencies. With this dependency graph, management is more difficult. All objects must be instantiated beforehand and in the right order to use object E. First, A and B must be instantiated as they have no dependencies, then C and D, and finally E to execute a specific method. This is an example of 5 classes, but in real project, there will be hundreds or even thousands of classes that need to be instantiated. Even if dependency injection is an interesting technique, doing it manually can be very constraining and you can't manage this complexity manually. We also need to consider the life cycle of these objects. For example, A and B are singletons, let's say, and C, D, and E must be created for each customer request. So how can we do this manually, as new logic must be added to these objects? Fortunately, we have a way of dealing with this, which is called inversion of control.